So for this question, today we're going to take a look at modifiers, non-essential modifiers in particular, as well as conjunctions. As always, I had to redact portions of this official question, so if you'd like to see the full question before we start, go ahead, look in the description box, click the link to GMATClub to see it, and come back when you're ready. All right, so I've actually made this question a lot easier just by all of the redacted portions. So everything I've redacted was essentially a non-essential modifier. That sounds funny. So it makes the full independent clause a lot easier to read. This question is not particularly hard, but it is, I would consider, a medium level question because there's a lot of bloat here. The GMAT's really just trying to stuff the sentence as fat as it can possibly make it so that you get distracted by the structure of it. So let's take a look at this. One of the things I want to do before we start is just identify the conjunctions here since they matter a lot. So conjunctions are those linking words like and, but, nor, or, yet, so, etc. So A and B have but, C we got and I guess we have or here too, but I'm just looking at the other one. And we have but in E. So those are interesting because conjunctions create an expectation of parallelism. So when we have things like X and Y, we kind of expect X and Y to be parallel. And usually what that means is they are the same, they have the same function within the sentence. So if X is a verb, Y is also a verb. If X is a modifier, Y is also a modifier, etc. All right, now let's get started. So A says, seldom more than 40 feet wide and 12 feet deep, but it ran 363 miles, comma, the Erie Canal connected the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. So the beginning part is a dependent clause, everything before this comma. The independent clause is very clear here. The Erie Canal connected the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. Great, that's a nice independent clause. So if we look at the dependent clause though, seldom more than 40 feet wide and 12 feet deep, right? That's a modifier. It's describing the Erie Canal. And then we have but it ran, which is a pronoun and then a verb. It ran 363 miles. If we just looked at that by itself, that could be an independent clause. That could be a complete sentence on its own. So there's no parallelism here between it ran 363 miles because it's functioning as basically a complete standalone sentence, and what came before, which was a long modifier, seldom more than 40 feet wide, 12 feet deep. It's a piece of description describing Erie Canal. So you could also, to be honest, think of it, because there's a pronoun here, that would be something that would really stand out to you as, this is a modifier and this is starting right into a pronoun. So this is not parallel, right? As we know, the GMAT really, really loves parallelism. But the Erie Canal connected, connected was a great verb. That's probably the verb we're going to need, right? The Erie Canal connected, the Erie Canal connected. B has the same thing, which is great. Give it a little happy face. C, but the Erie Canal, comma, connecting. Well, all right, that's different structure. We may have to take it on its own merits. Comma, which connected, they're making it a modifier. E connecting, they're making it a modifier. So let's take a look at the parallelism. In B, seldom more than blah, 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 but running 363 miles. Okay, so running 363 miles, that is also a modifier. Again, it doesn't matter that this one, seldom more, doesn't have an ing, but running does. It's about how they function within the sentence. So because seldom more than blah, blah, blah is a modifier and running 363 miles is also a modifier, this would be considered parallel. So we'll hang on to that for now. C, it was seldom more than 40 feet wide and 12 feet deep, comma, and ran 363 miles, right? So here the parallelism is a little different. We're starting with this pronoun it, and then what we're making parallel are the two verbs. It was and it ran. That is parallel, but the issue is, what is this it? Well, it's an unnecessary pronoun, right? And as we know, the GMAT's not a big fan of unnecessary pronouns. Let's take it into the context of the entire sentence. It was seldom more than 40 feet wide and 12 feet deep and ran 363 miles, comma, but the Erie Canal, comma, connecting the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. Where's the verb? There's no predicate verb. If this had said, but the Erie Canal connected, okay, you could make an argument for it. I'd still have a problem with that but it would at least be a complete sentence. So C, despite the length of it, is what we would call a sentence fragment. There's no verb. I always think of the main verb in a sentence, which we call the predicate verb, as like the engine of the sentence. There's no engine. This C is just kind of like sputtering off on the side of the road. All right, let's take a look at D. The Erie Canal was seldom more than 40 feet wide or 12 feet deep, and it ran 363 miles. Okay, so again, I like that. We have the Erie Canal was, and it ran. It's okay that one of them is a noun, Erie Canal, and the other one is a pronoun, it. That could be considered parallel. Like you could go noun, verb, and pronoun, verb, and that parallelism would be acceptable. And let's just make sure it works with the rest of the sentence. The Erie Canal was seldom more than 40 feet wide or 12 feet deep, and it ran 363 miles, comma, which connected the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. So here, our understanding of this answer choice really hinges on our knowledge of how the which, comma, which modifier is used. So that's describing the noun phrase before the sentence. I kind of deleted some of this modification here. It said across the rugged wilderness of upstate New York. The problem is none of those things are the thing that's doing the action of connecting the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. So 363 miles did not connect the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. The rugged wilderness of upstate New York is not the thing that connected the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. So this, even though the parallelism in the front was great, this modifier is wrong because logically it should be the canal itself that connected the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. And the problem is the comma which modifier can't go that far back into the sentence. It can't describe all the way at the beginning like that. Which is very limited. That comma which modifier, it's almost like it can only make a very small jump back, whereas a participle modifier, an ing, is very powerful in the way that it can jump. It can go all the way back to the beginning of a sentence. So there's a limitation on comma which. So we'd love for it to modify Erie Canal, but as written in D, it's not. And finally, let's take a look at E. The Erie Canal, seldom more than 40 feet wide and 12 feet deep, comma, but running 363 miles. Okay, so again, this is similar in terms of the structure to B. So seldom more and running, seldom more but running. Great, two modifier structures, both describing Erie Canal. Sure, but we're running into the same problem with C, where it's a fragment. There's no predicate verb. The Erie Canal, comma, connecting the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. It's like, no, we need like the Erie Canal did connect, was connecting, connected, any kind of proper conjugated verb. Connecting with a comma in front of it like this, even though it looks like a verb, is a participle modifier. Great. So after going through all of those answer choices, it turns out that our best option is B. Seldom more than 40 feet wide or 12 feet deep, but running 363 miles, comma, the Erie Canal connected the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. As always, if you have any questions about this, feel free to ask me in the comments below.